All right. I just wanted to make a short, like, part two. Growing up fat and ugly. This is like the after. Losing the weight, learning to take care of yourself. And you realize that pretty privilege is actually real. You think that people are exaggerating, even their statistics, for example, that it's more useful for a woman to lose, 25 pounds compared to getting a master's degree. And for her, in terms of her salary. So you thought that personality mattered more, or having enough confidence matters and makes you attractive. But then when your appearance changes, it's like everything else changes too. Even just being on an airplane and having someone help you with your bag. But in the past, no one, even I was young, you're younger, like a teenager, and people wouldn't help me. As well as you look older when you're bigger. I actually have my license from when I was 16, and then my license from when I was 19 or 20. And I look older in the one when I was 16, and the difference of my weight was maybe around 40 or 50 pounds. It was around 60 to 70. In my 16-year-old driver's license photo, I was around 220 pounds compared to when I was 19, I was around 155 pounds. People are so much kinder, more patient, helpful, more interested in even just talking to you. Even like you have the same personality, but you get a different reaction. And you're still the same person. But even, for example, I would have people that bullied me reach out to me when I was a young adult. So people maybe from middle school, when you're like a tween, maybe 10, around age 10, reaching out. But they didn't reach out a few years back, even though it would have been more recent, technically. People listen to you more. This can also be negative, but your opinions are taken more seriously. You might get interrupted less. If it's men, if it's more women, it depends. But people like engage what you're saying more. You get more opportunities as well. You get more attention, random attention, like way more compliments also from random people, even just the person checking you out, or you're at the bodega, mini markets, whatever, people that you see. And it's like more people want to be around you. Then you kind of have this like realization at some point, but it can be clouded because there's another layer. For example, personally, I've always been like a girl's girl, and I always had such a positive view of women. Like, women are kind of perfect, I guess, in my eyes. Amazing. I also had a single mother, and many of the women in my lives were strong, independent, confident women. But it's like this shock that actually other women or girls are like secretly competing with you or hating on you. Like, so if you're overweight or unattractive, like, you're never seen really as competition, or even you make people feel better about themselves. So like you move more comfortably. So it's like the thought of jealousy or comparison never even came to your mind. Maybe only you with another person. But it's like a complete shift in female interactions, because before you're viewed as no threat, even maybe like a tool that's useful to them because you make them look better. But now some girls may be nicer, but then some girls are really cold and I guess distant. Like, the energy feels different. You notice all these subtle behavior changes. And the thing is, when you're overweight and or unattractive, when you're younger. You're trying to make yourself feel smaller, and you also start to pick up on different things because maybe people make hidden insults towards you. But now you're noticing subtle behavior from people that you've never dealt with before. And you have to now like learn the signs of competition, because it's like you get into these friendships with people that it would have been normal with before, or you would have never thought about it. It's just signs you never had happen to you personally. Like backhanded compliments, or people or social groups, or groups of women excluding you, literally excluding you, like passive aggressive comments, weird comments, or people really want to know your business now. And it's like, before you're invisible, and now so many people want to know deep, intimate details of your personal life, but then to just go around and talk shit about them. So you're so confused at first. And honestly, it took me a few years, and also like listening to more about these topics, to think back and realize a lot of people, especially women, when I first glowed up, they actually really hated me and were competition with me. And the thing is, it's so interesting because, you still have this view of yourself because you're bigger and more unattractive, that you're not a threat to anyone, or like maybe the other girl, you idolize her, like you think she's prettier than you, but then you realize, like, wow, this person years ago when I first glowed up was in competition with me. They were threatened by me. I mean, I'm really so shocked. Why would you? Even there was a girl, she was like a pageant girl. She won a very big pageant in the United States, but I'm not going to say it, of course. And she's thinner than me. She's wealthier than me. Of course, somebody in a pageant they spend a lot of money on these things. And there were some backhanded compliments, especially like attacking my personality and different things that happened. And this was my dorm roommate, one of them. And it took me so long to realize that all of these things that I didn't understand why she commented on or cared about or picked out is actually like her competing with me and disliking me and wanting to bring me down in front of the other girls in the group, even though it still fascinates me to this day, because technically societal terms, she's above, but actually she views her own self as lower. Anyway, after all of these things, you realize it's not always personal. It's not about you as a person. It's how people perceive you, and also how they perceive themselves, how they think about themselves, where they're going in life, what they're doing. You start to become more self-aware. But there are different tactics, maybe downplaying yourself, trying to seem less threatening, avoiding attention. You're just trying to keep the peace, but you realize it doesn't work anyway. And then sometimes you miss your old self that's invisible, really. It's so much less pressure, less comparison, because at this point now there's so much judgment, it's somehow you have your own paparazzi trying to figure out everything that you're trying to do next, what's going on in your life. If you gain some weight, there's a girl, I gained maybe 10 pounds a few months ago, and immediately this girl asked my partner if I'm pregnant. So it's so much, so many eyes on you. It makes friendships also so much more complicated. You're constantly questioning, is this a genuine friendship? Is there jealousy from this person? Is this person trying to compete with me? And trust is just so much harder, and it just complicates things that before in the past were easy. Or Other things in friendships were more complicated, like different issues. Maybe it's the opposite, like them hating on you or making rude comments, but in the opposite way, that you're below them, for not in a competitive way. And then you realize that women just generally, even if it's subconscious, put themselves in competition with other women, and looks play the biggest role in this. And you're now in a game or experiencing something that you before were outside of. So, but the reality is, not all girls are like this. Some women are genuinely supportive and kind, but this dynamic exists. And sometimes this forces you to stop being a people pleaser, or stop, I guess, doing everything for everyone else or trying to make everyone else happy, because you realize there's a lot of people that want to bring you down now. In comparison, before, people felt bad for you, but now they want you to go lower. And so it won't work anymore being like a kind person to everyone. But it's not talked about a lot. The kind of pressure that comes when you go from being invisible to glowing up and being perceived. The amount of energy it can take from your life if you get sucked into it. You know, maybe when you're younger, you're bullied and you learn how to get over bullying. But then it's like, as an adult or glowing up, at any age, it's like a whole new ball game that you have to learn. And it makes society and relationships, friendships, so much more complicated. And many pretty girls online say, I'm only friends with other pretty girls. And there's a reason for this. But at the end of the day, there's also plenty of pretty girls that view themselves as lower and take it out on other people, even if technically they are prettier than you or another person. Anyways, I don't think this is about blaming anyone. I think it's just about being honest about how much appearance actually affects our lives and how confusing that can feel when you first start experiencing it and learning how to navigate it. If you feel comfortable, share your experience in the comments, either glowed up, glowed down, leveled down. Have you noticed these things too? I know people just generally talk about like the physical effects, but all right, babes, I hope you all have a good night. And remember to protect your energy, because it is incredibly valuable.